Good evening. The Madison County Board of Education regular session for Thursday, July 21st, 2022 is in session. Mr. Perkins, can we do the invocation for us, please?
Let's bow our heads. Father in heaven, we're grateful for another day that you've blessed us with the opportunity of service. And we know, O Lord, that you've called us to a great calling, and that's to be a blessing to those in whom you've placed in our care. And so, Lord, we ask and pray that with wisdom from on high, wisdom from you, that we will make the necessary decisions, Lord, that will impact our kids, our students, in a positive way. I pray, O Lord, for this district, for all the individuals who are connected with it. And I ask and pray, Lord, for our teachers as they return, our faculty and our staff members as they return. And I ask, O Lord, that you bless this board in a special way, that we might lead, guide, and that we might make decisions, Lord, that will uplift and glorify your name. We pray, O Lord, that you would be in this meeting now. And we ask, O Lord, for your presence in this place. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I recommend approval of the agenda. Wait a minute. Excuse me. I recommend approval of the minutes dated June 2nd. No.
Agenda. Today.
Yeah, we got to start with the agenda. My thing is a little messed up. I recommend approval of the agenda dated July 21st, 2022.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the recommendation for the approval of the agenda dated Thursday, July 21st, 2022. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I recommend approval of the minutes dated June 2nd, June 9th, June 30th, and July 7th, 2022.
Motion. Second.
I have a motion and a second for the recommendation for approval of the minutes dated June 2nd, 9th, 30th, and July 7th, 2022. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, item number 2 on our agenda, request to address the board. We have 2 names on here. Madison Wood, are they available? Are they here? Okay. Okay, thank you. And Mr. Craig Hill? Okay. All right. Looks like we need an executive session for this one. Is that correct? Okay. I need a motion to go into executive session.
Motion.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 We're going to go into executive session to discuss Mr. Hill's issue. All right. You want to meet in? Madison County Board of Education is back into regular session. Mr. Perkins.
All right. Informational items, construction updates. Mr. Kazort.
There we go. Good afternoon, Board. We did capital project not improvements, but construction updates roughly 2 months ago. So I'll take the opportunity tonight to update you where we're at on certain projects. If you have questions, feel free to jump in, and I'll answer them to the best of my knowledge. I have to step out here a little bit, sorry. So Madison County High School partial roofing. The flat roof, which is this on the right and on the left there, that's 100% complete. The additional work, Mr. Bryan, the additional work they're supposed to start next week on, and we've got a plan on that, and so they're moving ahead. That's still with standard roofing, okay? Once that's complete, then we'll do a substantial complete inspection and make sure everything is the way it's supposed to be for us.
Can I tell you something about you and I had walked into the, can you just make a note?
Yes, sir.
You and I walked into the ag shop,
Yes, sir.
and on the left-hand side wall, there was some wet tile. Remember I showed you that?
Okay.
Can you check in on that? because I don't think that is an actual roof leak. I think there's an air conditioning pipe that sweats all the way down that wall.
In the
I was-
ag shop?
In the ag classroom,
Oh, okay, okay. 'Cause
before you got to the ag shop.
I've got you.
We thought it was a roof leak because it's right there on that ridge line,
Yeah.
but it's actually, I believe there's an air conditioning pipe that's sweating.
Sounds like condensation
Yeah.
possibly needs to be insulated.
Right.
Okay, I'll make a note.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. There was one there in the cafeteria, but they found that issue and they've got that.
I just didn't want them trying to fix a leak when it's a pipe inside the school.
I appreciate that. So that project is nearly complete. The Madison County High School fluid cooler, it's 98% complete. We've had the substantial complete inspection with the state. They're doing some testing and balancing and just a few punch list items, but it's up and functioning. Everything's well. Okay. Sorry about that. Sparkman Middle freezer and cooler replacement. I thought I updated this picture today while I was looking at that like that. That's the old one.
Yeah.
The new ones are installed. Electricity, they've got them up, they've got them to temperature. They were in there trying to finish them out today. They will be ready for the grocery delivery. I think it's either the 26th or 27th of next week is the grocery delivery, but they're ready for groceries probably by Monday. So that picture is not what we're doing. What they will lack from there is a little bit of landscaping and fencing around the outside of it. But our goal was to be ready for the grocery delivery for the kids. Sparkman High, fluid cooler replacement, the same as Madison County High School, 99% complete, testing, balancing, just a few items on the punch list. Riverton Elementary School roof, the shingle roof is 100% complete. We have a flat roof or TPO sections that are going to be done as well, and we're waiting on materials on that particular job. An update on our Career Tech machine shop. It's in the final designs now. Mr. Romine and are going over to MVP, I think, Monday to look at the final design, see if there's any changes that we want on it before it goes out. There will be a pre-bid conference August the 9th, and then we'll be accepting bids on that on August the 16th. And right now it will be scheduled for the machine shop to be able to move into that building July of 2023, so next summer. Other capital projects, the Buckhorn High School roof. This was Steve Ward and Associates. We received bids last Thursday. You'll see that in your package tonight. Buckhorn High School, that one has, you've seen this one. There's nothing changed on it. HVAC through Snyder. Hopefully they'll be working on some of those units this fall, but that will be going on for the next year. Madison County Elementary School roof, that's back around the old gymnasium area in the locker room. Material is finally on site. That's been a long-awaited project there. Walnut Grove roof repairs, we've received bids on that as well, and that is in your package tonight, along with the Walnut Grove HVAC replacement. The HVAC replacement on Walnut Grove are 5 main units on the rooftop, and we're adding some small units into the 2 of the corridors and then the stairwell. Those areas have never had conditioned air, so we're adding that into those areas, conditioned or heated. Riverton Intermediate HVAC. I don't know if anybody's been over there. That is a big project that they've been working on since the day school let out. It is looking better every day. They have reintroduced water to the supply lines. It's a water source system. So today's Wednesday, Monday, they got the chiller up and running chilled water through it, but they started at a higher temperature because that building is hot, humid. You don't want to cool it off too fast and cause a lot of sweating. So then they turned it down a little bit more today, and they're going to let it run all night tonight. Right now, like I explained a long time ago, Schneider will probably be walking out the back door when we have people walking in the front door. So they will be over there starting Saturday trying to get that building cleaned and ready for staff. They're not going to be 100%. All units will be running, all classrooms, all the fan coil units. There's 121 or 122 of those throughout the building. They're all up and running. We've elected to delay the library unit so we could concentrate on the classrooms, but the library unit is running, so we'll take a time and replace it when it's right time. And the gym units, those are still running. We'll still use the old system until we can get the new system. The majority of the new system will be there, but it won't be functioning until just a little bit later. So it was the best plan so we could have the classrooms ready for the students. Sparkman Middle School, that is, again, that's an HVAC upgrade there, and it will be starting this fall. We're going to look at the gym units there first. Those are the ones giving us the most problem at Sparkman Middle School, and then a lot of rooftop units. The central office, it's the same, upgrade. Career Tech, next door, the same. The Building D for the virtual, we're about 95% complete out there and ready for the virtual kids. We hope to have a gentleman in here starting Sunday to start putting flooring down. Again, we're going to be walking out as the kids are coming in there, but we should have that ready. And the central school, we had a small area left to finish where we remodeled the cafeteria, the old cafeteria and old lunchroom. And so I think it's a self-contained area is what Alex Hughes has decided to use there. And we've been able to add 2 restrooms there, one for the self-contained area. I think the other one will be for a teacher and adult restroom there. And then that will finish that project up. We won't have to go back to central.
Will that be done in time for school?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. It's been a busy summer. I mean, yeah, but yes, sir. There was a question the other day that came up, so I wanted to update you. Road projects. Blake Bottom widening, that was a concern that will be there at Monrovia Elementary. I've talked to the commissioner and talked to some others. Right now, they've attained or secured 50% of the property right-of-ways, so they think that's going to still take them another 6 months or longer. Probably 2024 before we start seeing any real construction out there. So we will get through this year without any problems.
Oh, I thought it was, I mean, I was under the impression it was going to happen this summer.
Yeah, yeah. They've not, like I say, they've got 50% of the property, and then they have to move utilities, but that's even after they finish all the acquisitions. Move utilities and then start construction.
But they've got the utility flags up, they've got the markers up, and they've marked it. But I thought, I was left with the impression this was happening like this summer, going to be
Right,
done.
yeah. No, they're further out than I thought they would be as well.
All right.
And then we have another road project, which is Homer Nance and Jordan down here. And the contract with the contractor there, which is Rogers Group, is for the end of September. They are ahead of schedule. I was out there on site with them. They're hoping earlier. They don't want to make any promises. And I've been talking to Chuck as well, the county engineer, and Chuck Faulkner, about any options. And they are working with us to see if there are any options for us so that we can have some kind of traffic when school starts. There's no promises there. We're just looking at any option that we may have. But even if they get it open in August, it'd be great, toward the end of August. So, Homer Nance is going to be a fun road. If anybody's listening, don't travel Homer Nance during school. Would you agree?
But you have to go to school.
Yeah, you do have to go to school. That's the end of my construction updates as far as what we've got that we've had on here for me to try to give you an update on. Is there any particular project or anything that I may can answer or update you on? No. We'll be ready for school. It's very tight schedule. But for those schools that we've been doing work in, we will have those ready for the students when they come in August the 3rd. Okay? All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kazor.
Item B, discussion of instructional department organizational chart. Mr. Cubic?
Yeah.
Good evening. You should have a handout in front of you. I'll reference that. There's 3 sections in the handout. The first one is our current instructional organizational chart as we currently have it right now. As you can see, we have our assistant superintendency, and then in our instructional department, we have 9 positions. Federal programs has 3, and special ed has 7. And these are certified positions we're talking about this evening. If you look to the far right, we have the director of special ed. We have 2 resource specialists at 240 days, and then we have 4 resource specialists at 202 days. If you look to the middle and you see the federal programs, we have the supervisor of federal programs, and then we have 2 resource specialists at 222 days. When you look over at our instructional department, we have an elementary and a secondary supervisor, and then we have 1 resource specialist at 240 days. We have 3 resource specialists at 222 days and 3 program specialists at 212 days. So when we're talking about the restructuring here, what we're trying to do is realign our instructional department, and what we're talking about is only the far left-hand side, which is instruction. Our federal programs would remain the same, and our special education department would remain the same. So looking at the far left in the instructional department, what we're trying to do is to streamline the contact points for our schools, and instead of having an elementary and secondary, we're looking at trying to break that up so we have an elementary, a middle school, and a high school. So we have 3 direct lines there instead of the 2, so we can disperse the schools a little bit better. So there's a direct point of contact for information coming down from the state and going up, coming down from the state and from the Board of Education down to the schools and coming up from the schools up to the central office. So it flows both ways a lot better. With this, we want to streamline how we have our resource specialists and our program specialists. So upon retirement of a 240-day, we would like to reduce that down to a 222 days. So remove that so it aligns with the other resource specialists. And our 212-day people, with the Numeracy and the Literacy Act happening in the summer now, they're working more into June. And with our North Alabama Technology Conference, they're working into June. And so we want to update those, we want to increase those days from 212 to 222. That way, all the positions underneath the supervisor of elementary, middle, and high school would all be 222-day positions, and they'd be all resource specialists. Okay, currently, the plan and how to address this is we're trying to streamline things and we're trying to make it more efficient. And by doing that, there's a few vacancies that we currently have. We're talking about eliminating those vacancies. So if you look at the middle band, you'll see how this would play out. So the first pink band, the new supervisor for the high schools, and you can see what the cost of that would be. That's $101,000. Okay, then reducing that first 240 school resource specialist down to 222, that would be a savings of $7,300. Then you have first 222-day position that would remain, and then we're looking at eliminating one of the 222-day positions that is currently working with the high schools and making that a supervisory level. So that would be a savings of $86,000. Then we currently have a vacancy in one of the 222-day positions. That would be a savings of $84,000. Increasing 2 of the 212 days to 222 would be an increase of $4,200 on each one of those. And then our most recent 212-day position, we'd eliminate it as well, and that would be a savings of $74,000. So what this does is this streamlines our instructional department. It makes them very specific as to where people can go to get direct information, and it creates a flow up and down the line staffing so that information is disseminated well between our schools and our central office and from the state department down to the schools. And if you look at the bottom block, you'll see how upon completion of all this, how it would actually look. So instruction would be basically reduced from 9 positions to 7 positions with a lot more efficiency and direct reporting as well as communication. And then, of course, federal programs and special ed would stay the same. So by the time we've had this all completed, what we're talking about is a net savings of $135,000, which could be used to be repurposed for restructuring needs as we go forward in the district for other positions. We're planning to bring this back for in August for the approval of the changes and the new position of the the high school supervisor position. So just wanted to give you an update and let you know what we're looking at this point.
What does fanning mean?
Pardon me?
What does fanning mean? At the top section, school improvement, Fanning Elementary.
That's a
Oh,
name.
that was-
That's a last name.
That was just the last name. That's
Oh,
That's, what it is that is a person that is in one of those positions.
oh, okay. I thought it was a program or
I'm sorry.
something. Oh, okay.
I did too.
Thank you, Mr. Cubic.
All right.
All right, item C.
Yep, item C, Capital Planning Committee. Board members.
So back in May, we had our whole board training. Ms. Kim McPherson came and she gave a presentation on planning project blueprints, I believe, something to that name. And she mentioned something to me that stuck, which was having board representation on some of our committees. And so I wanted to go ahead and entertain someone who would like to serve on our capital planning committee. If anybody is interested, I want to open that up. I think it would be very good for the board to have some representation as they go through and do capital plan. I think they've had a meeting so far. They've had one meeting so far, and somebody on a board that could be a part of those meetings to give insight if there's concerns that the board has. Would anybody be interested in serving on that capital planning committee?
Brian would be a good one.
Be a good one. I mean, thank y'all. No, what is what's the criteria? I mean, like, do you go to? Do they meet here?
Yeah. So, Dr. Minsky.
Currently, we just have the meeting set up. We would have them here with just the committee that we have, that has been
I'm like
assigned.
quarterly, monthly.
Right now, the first draft of the capital plan will be planned to be presented on September 1st board meeting. So we will have probably 2 or 3 more meetings between now and then.
I don't mind helping out.
Okay. All right, Mr. Brooks, it is.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just one more thing to address. I was talking to a couple of my principals today, and they were talking about the significant growth that we've had at least 2 of my schools, Lynn Fanning and Hazel Green High School. And I think in the near term, I'd like to have a work session where we discuss and lay out where we are population-wise, what our phases, what we plan to do to address some of these concerns. I like to see that as soon as we can so we could see what we're going to do, if not this year, the following year going forward.
Mr. Curry, one of the things that we have talked about as a team recently was to look at that September 1st board meeting, the work session that we have scheduled. One would be the capital plan, the other would be the first budget hearing, and then the third was going to be bringing someone in, a demographer, to kind of present what they could do for a new study. This kind of the study we had done a year or so ago. I'm not sure, with all the additional growth and all the additional housing, that I think we would be wise to look at and consider having another demographic study done as soon as possible.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Lynn Fanning currently sits at 747 kids. I think Hazel Green's over 1,300 kids. I mean, and that's just, and the doors aren't even open yet. So I would imagine that we're going to see additional growth. I know we already had issues, capacity issues at Lynn Fanning. We got some capacity issues at Moores Mill. So we just need to have that conversation, do another demographic study.
Well, there's 2 sides to it. There's the demographic study, which
Right.
kind of tells us something about the future, but I mean.
But right now,
current problem, we
right.
need to get on that one right now.
We have a couple of drafts of some ideas we have already put together that we could present on the first, as far as ideas in reference to trying to touch base with the current issues that we have.
Right.
And I think to that point, we need to probably have an initial discussion on rezoning in certain areas, like my area, maybe even down in Sherry's area, possibly your area a little bit, Nathan, because there are areas that we can rezone, particularly in my district right now, to alleviate some of the overcrowding or growth. You know, I don't want to say overcrowding, but the growth in our schools, particularly elementary, to relieve some of that stress. And there are open spaces in our two districts that we realigned it districtly through district line reorientation. We could fix some of the problems now, to Sherry's point. Maybe not now, but in the next year.
23, 24
Yeah,
school year.
until we can, then we can address. But I think rezoning has got to be a part of that conversation as well. No, we've been kind of holding off on that because of the consent order and all of that stuff. Now that we're down that road and we're there, we should be able to start looking at that with more force and then get it into the judge for approval.
Absolutely,
All
absolutely.
of your issues at elementary level?
At this point, it's probably the most acute at the elementary level. Mooresma Intermediate, which I guess would be considered elementary as well. They have some growth challenges. Lynn Fanning. We have some space at Meridianville Middle School. We may have a little space at Hazel Green Elementary School. So we have some room for movement, but Lynn Fanning in particular, it's pretty full. It's pretty packed out. Yeah.
Hazel Green is going to be a bad problem for you. Hazel Green.
Well, I mean, and I've spoken with my commissioner. I've spoken with, the growth in my area is significant, as well as Ms. Bates' area as well. So we need to start looking at plans, starting with looking at zone issues, possibly looking at construction. What do we have to do to manage this growth before it gets way too far ahead of us? So that's something that we just need to have those conversations about.
And we do have plans, and we've been discussing and working through some of those too, so.
Yeah, and I certainly I know you guys have, and I think we just need to have a public work session about it and just discuss it and lay it out and have those proposals laid on the table. Yep. All right, that's all I got.
All right. Administrative items. Item A, I recommend approval of the bids and bid rejection as submitted.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the recommendation for approval of bids and bid rejections as submitted. Any discussion?
Changes.
The bid rejection, was that the one that the company wanted a 5-year or something, and we was trying to do a 1 or 2 year? Okay. Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Item B, I recommend approval of the mechanical bid at Walnut Grove School as submitted.
Motion?
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the recommendation for approval of the mechanical bid at Walnut Grove as submitted. Any discussion?
Yeah. So that's got the air conditioning and the roof at the same time, right? And they're coordinated, okay. Which comes first?
Chicken and egg.
But we're bidding them we're doing them at the same time though, right? Okay. Oh, okay.
All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Item C, I recommend approval of the Walnut Grove roofing repairs as submitted.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the recommendation for approval of the Walnut Grove roof repair as submitted. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Item D, I recommend approval of the Buckhorn High School roof repair as submitted.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the recommendation for approval of the Buckhorn High School roofing repair as submitted. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item E, I recommend approval of the contracts for services as submitted.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the recommendation for approval of contracts for services as submitted. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Recommend it.
Item F, I recommend approval of the personnel items and addendum 1 and 2 as submitted.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the recommendation for approval of personnel items, addendum 1 and addendum 2 as submitted. Any discussion? I was requested, do we need an executive session to discuss a personnel matter?
Is that an F?
That would be, yeah, that would be F.
Oh, I make a motion to go to executive session.
Is it for the general reputation and character of an individual? Okay. I need a motion to go into executive session.
I made a motion.
Okay, I need a second.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Do you want?
We are going to adjourn into executive session. When we return, we are going.
It's a little chilly in here.
It is a little chilly.
Yep. Now we'll get hot.
Okay.
We're on F, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do I need to reread that?
Yeah, we're
Okay.
gonna repeat it.
Brian had to go to.
Oh. So we've already had the motion in the second.
Yeah.
Are you going to repeat it just again?
Anytime, Mr. Brooks.
We did go back into executive session.
We are in about 2 seconds.
Yeah.
All right, get started. Madison County Board of Education is back in the regular session. We're going to repeat administrative item F.
Okay. Item F, I recommend approval of the personnel items and addendum 1 and 2 as submitted.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the recommendation for approval of personnel item addendum 1 and addendum 2 as submitted. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item G, I recommend approval of the 2-year probationary principal contract as submitted.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the recommendation for approval of the 2-year probationary principal contract as submitted. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Item H, I recommend approval of supplemental contracts and discontinued contracts as submitted.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the recommendation of approval of supplements and discontinuance of supplemental contracts as submitted. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, well, that concludes our public session of our regular session. We have an executive session for a unique situation transfer. I need another motion to go in executive session.
Motion.
Which one?
I'll take second.
Have a motion to second to go in executive session for unique situation transfer. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We
This-
gonna stay right here?
We're going to stay right here. This concludes our regular session meeting. Thank you. Joe Bellis.
Come on up, Miss Witt.